This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog with another weekly baseball observation. The Cubs have been shuffling their lineup the whole season. They've been playing Nick Castellanos second since they traded for him. They've been playing Hayward in the leadoff spot and playing him center field. And they even had Kyle Schwarber bat second when he wasn't leading off or bat in the middle of the lineup. And with Anthony Rizzo hurt, you thought, maybe, just maybe, Schwarber or Castellanos would play first base, get him out of the outfield, maybe Chris Bryant off of third base. But they played Nick Caratini, the backup catcher, when he was needed a catcher. And they played it like Ian Happ at first base when he should be playing second base or the outfield. So that just, there were better options to play at first base than to play Caratini, who you needed a catcher until Contreras came back. And then the Phillies have been shuffling their lineup all season because the two potential leadoff hitters in Odubel Herrera and Andrew McCutchen have been out for the season, and Roman Quinn hasn't stayed healthy. So the best options are, why don't you bet Gene Segura, who's been a leadoff hitter, or Cesar Hernandez, who was better leadoff for you, or even now you have Brad Miller and you have Sergio Rodriguez, you got Adam Halsey, you even had Scott Kingery lead off this year when he was playing center field a bunch. Those are some options. Not batting Bryce Harper, not batting Rhys Hoskins or Corey Dickerson in the leadoff spot, and then batting with the other guy, one of those three at second, or even JT Realmuto second, is the best for you. Now the Marlins have the last couple of weeks placed Starlin Castro at shortstop because they called up Ian Diaz to play second base. They still have Prado and Neil Walker on the roster, who were playing games at first base, second base, or third base. And now that Miguel Rojas is off the DL, they're playing him again at the shortstop. They're playing this Birdie guy at second base, shortstop, third base, and center field. It seems like Birdie's more of a utility player, like Miguel Rojas, like Prado was at this point in his career, and Neil Walker, that it's best suited now. Fine, you're going to play Starlin Castro. Don't just switch him back and forth between second, short, and third. Play him at shortstop for the rest of the season. See if anybody in the offseason wants to pick him up to play second base or shortstop. Because he's not a third baseman, so don't stop playing him at third base. Now, the Yankees are continuing to bat DJ LeMahieu leadoff despite Brett Gardner and Aaron Hicks and others have had better success there before this season. And they're playing him at third base and first base when they had injuries at first base and third base. But if you're starting a guy like Wade and you're starting other people at second base that aren't, everyday players, you could just start the utility guys at third base and let him play his best position, which is second. Also, with all the injuries this year, Aaron Judge is batting consistently second or playing the outfield and they're DHing like guys like Cameron Maybin or Mike Ford or Mike Talkman. It's not really the best idea. Judge should have been DHing with all these injuries in the outfield and all over the place because he's your best hitter, power-wise guy, and he shouldn't be batting second either. I'm not really scared of Gleyber Torres and Didi Gregorius is in my 3 through 5. I'm scared if Aaron Judge is in my 3 through 5. Now, the A's are continuing even without Lariano by playing Cannon center field. They're playing a lot of Chad Pinder in right field. Occasionally, Robbie Grossman will shift to right field because they're playing a new first baseman in left field. So you put this first baseman they called up in left field, and you have Cannon center field and Chad Pinder in right. That's an outfield of 2 first basemen and a second baseman. And at the same time, they're also playing Jurickson Profar in left field so they can play other people at second base. Yes, Jurickson Profar has experience playing the outfield, but it's one thing if he's the only guy playing the outfield. But you're playing him with other infielders, it doesn't make any sense. And they've also called up another outfielder to replace Nick Martini, and he's a left fielder. So they're not even calling up center fielders, even though they have Fowler and Grossman can play center field. I know Piscotty's injured, but he's played some center field. They have guys on their 40-man roster that can play center field, and they're just not doing it. Yeah, Mark Canna's been good offensively, but he is not a first base. He's not an outfielder, and if he's an outfielder, I understood a couple of years ago when you had 0 center fielders, but you have at least 2 or 3 in your roster, and he'd be better suited in the corner spot. And the Jays, I've seen them play center fielder McKinney at first base. They continue to play Grichuk in center field, despite the fact that they have plenty of outfielders who all can play center field. So there's no need for that. They also have 3 or 4 guys who can play first base, so there's no need for McKinney to do that. And then they got DFA Zach Godley. They're doing openers. Clay Buchholz, Clayton Richard, they're both back, okay? You have enough pitchers on your 40-man roster, if you look at their team very closely, that have started Major League games the past 2 seasons. It's better to start those guys instead of doing openers because it's not like you have 0 people. You have at least 4 or 5 guys you can start. And then the Astros. Correa got hurt again. So you would think that Lemmy Diaz would be playing shortstop and Bregman are playing third base. They're playing a lot of Bregman at shortstop, Lemmy Diaz at first base, left field. even third base, and they call up a Toto guy to play third base. The whole point of having Lesmes Diaz is he fills in as shortstop. Number one job. And then Jordan Alvarez. If it's interleague, it's one thing to play him in left field. But if you're not doing interleague and you're not DHing or first baseman, he's not an outfielder. You're just being silly. And the Rays, if Kiermaier again is missing time due to a day-to-day injury, and you don't have roster construction to put Guillermo Herrera on the 40-man roster, on your 20-man roster when he's on the 40-man roster, and you decide, yeah, we'll play Avi Garcia. What position is Austin Meadows and Tommy Pham? They're center fielders. So there should be no reason that Avi Garcia plays center field unless in a game it's like extra innings and it's interleague and all this stuff, and you have to just by accident do it. But on purpose starting him there or having him come in late in an American League game with a DH, silly. And Jalen Beeks, he's one of the only healthy starting pitchers you have, and you're not even going to start him. Just continue out of the bullpen. It's just silly. And the Indians continue to bet Lindor lead off when he should be batting third, maybe second in this lineup. Because if Ramirez is missing a lot of time this year, and you don't get that much offense out of catcher, and you haven't got a lot of offense out of your outfield, that's the thing, then he should be batting the middle. Now with rosters expanding, they decide we're going to call Jake Bauers back up. And you would think that Jake Bauers would come back up and play first base or DH. Nope. Franmil Reyes is still DHing. Franmil Reyes was playing right field a lot of games in San Diego. What's the issue with him playing left field so Bauers, who's not an outfielder, can play first base? Because there's been some games where he's dove and missed the ball, had bad timing, he's thrown the ball away. He should be playing first base or DH because that's his position. Now the Tigers are disrespecting Jody Mercer, who's been consistently good at shortstop his whole career, by playing him at second base or first base, just because they finally made the decision to call up the Castro shortstop they got from the Indians last year in the trade. And at the same time, Candelario's back up and healthy, and they're playing at first base. This is such an annoying thing. When they got him in the first place, he was a guy without a real position. He played everywhere for the Cubs. So they could have put him at second base because they had no second baseman. No, they decided that he's going to play third base for a couple of months to end the season and move Castellanos to right field. Not even try him in left and move right field. And then Castellanos has played right field the past couple of seasons, and he's not an outfielder. He wasn't a bad defensive third baseman. He was better off playing first base because Miguel Cabrera can't play first base. But now Candelario, we're going to scratch the idea and play him at first base now. You should have thought of that when you first got him. You could just have hampered Castellanos' career and the trade value. Because if he wasn't playing the outfield and he was playing first base or DH or even third base, he would have had a lot more value because his defense wouldn't have been that much of a question. Now the Twins, this whole entire season, when Buxton's been injured, they moved Kepler back and forth between right field, center field. They're playing Arise. They're playing Margazales or Andrianza in the corner outfield spot instead of just playing Eddie Rosario every day. I don't understand this. Unless Rosario is actively on the DL, there's no point to just keep playing infielders in left field and not play the offensive player that Rosario is. Other thing is, in games, they moved Kepler back and forth in a game between center field and right field, and Cave. Jake Cave played admirably last year when Byron Buxton was hurt, and he's played well enough this year that he should have been on the roster for most of the season as the fourth outfielder instead of using 3 or 4 guys in the outfield who are infielders and moving Kepler back and forth. Just keep Kepler in right field. And again, they've also moved Kepler up and down the lineup, have him lead off, bat him 7th, bat him 5th. He has a chance this year to hit 40 home runs. He's on that pace for that. Imagine if he was batting between 3rd and 7th in his lineup on those days. He would have a better chance of driving in runs instead of just doing dinky solo leadoff home runs. Think about that. Now the Braves again are batting Kuna leadoff despite Inciarte being healthy when he came back and them having other options. Now if Ciarte is again missing more significant time, that's fine to lead him off. But no idea to put him in center field and move him back and forth, especially now they have Rafael Ortega and Billy Hamilton on the roster, and Matt Joyce and Adam Duvall. Yeah, they're playing the corner guys, but you don't have to always start those guys. And the White Sox, despite calling up Ronnie Cordell with John Jay being out for the year, and them having Polka, and they have Yori Garcia, and they have Adam Engel, they have plenty of guys on the roster that can play right field. Playing Ryan Goins in right field is kind of a stretch. It's one thing when he played left field occasionally, but right field is a stretch. Now the Mariners, again, they continue to play infielders in left field, like Dylan Moore and Lopes. they've called up Bishop and they've called up a couple other outfielders to play, and they still have Keon Broxton on their team, and they still have obviously Malik Smith. That's plenty of outfielders. They don't need to play infielders in the outfield, especially when they've been playing Austin Nola catcher second base a lot when he's not a second baseman. It's good to see him be playing first base and catcher or DHing, because that's what he's meant to be doing. The Royals have been batting Soler a bunch second the past couple of weeks, and he broke the Royals record. He had 40 home runs in a season. So the reality is that having him bat second is not the best spot to put him in. And then they got this first baseman off waivers. Problem is, Hunter Dozier's is better suited to play third base. Cuthbert's a third baseman who's also played first base. O'Hearn's a first baseman DH, and they've even played Whit Merrifield at first base. And they have Soler who DHs a lot, but they have plenty of outfielders as well. So throwing a first baseman in the outfield and make Broom is a silly idea when we have too many outfielders also. The Orioles seem to continue to want to bat Trey Mancini second despite him being a best suited bat third or fourth, and to play him in right field some days and play Santana in center field. It's a September call-up time. They have plenty of outfielders, so there's no need to play Trey Mancini in the outfield. I know Chris Davis and Trumbo are up, and Nunez and Ruiz got all these, corner infield DH guys, but your best ticket is to play Mancini, your best player, where he belongs. Now the Dodgers bat Jock Peterson lead off. Bellinger's still playing center field, or they're batting, the Muncy, the Turner second base, and they're playing Taylor, Hernandez, and Negron in the outfield. They're not even letting Jed Jerko play second or third base, positions he's played before. They're playing Beatty at third base. It's a mess. You have A.J. Pollock, natural-born center fielder. Jock Peterson, natural-born center fielder. You have Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, shortstops, and Negron, shortstops, who played center field admirably. Because, a lot of times shortstops are better suited to play the outfield, and they're really good there. So I give them the credit. But not playing Cody Bellinger in center field, but then saying some days a week he's going to play first base when you have, David Freese back off the DL, and you have Jed Jerko, who you got, and you've been playing this Beatty guy a lot this year in left field too. And then now Jock Peterson, after being the left fielder for the past couple seasons and then going back to playing some center this year, he's playing right field. They played him a handful stretch at first base. If you're going to play Cody Bellinger in the outfield, just keep him in right field or left field, okay? You keep Jock Peterson in left field or play him in center field on a day. Because when you see Jock Peterson playing corner outfield or even first base on a day that Bellinger playing center field, and they're playing Beatty in the outfield too, it's just like, are you trying to have one of the worst offensive teams? But the point is now, with Max Muncy injured, you have those three shortstops who can play second base, and you have Jed Jerko, a second baseman, that you have enough guys there. And with Beatty and Bellinger and Freese, you have enough guys to play first base. Leave the outfield to Jock Peterson. Leave the outfield to A.J. Pollock. Leave the outfield to one of those three shortstops. It's just the best thing for them. I just don't know what they're doing there. I don't know if it's analytics telling them to suck on defense. I don't know, because they like to do the analytics thing. The Angels will continue to bat Mike Trout second, despite him about to have like a 45 to 50 home run season, playing Thias at third base when he's a first baseman. But now they have Justin Boyer and Pujols, so there's not room for everybody, and they DH Ohtani. Now, Cahill, Mejia pitching out the bullpen still, despite them having zero starting pitching, is silly. Cardinals continue to play a guy like Munoz and Tommy Edman in the outfield when they have enough outfielders. Again. And the Reds playing Buck Farmer second base. Kyle Farmer, not Buck Farmer. Kyle Farmer second base. This Grady guy in center field, when he's not a outfielder, he's a natural-born first baseman, O'Grady. So if you play this O'Grady guy in left field occasionally, that's a fine stretch there. And Van Meter is listed as an outfielder, third base. Whenever seeing him playing second base, it's interesting too. They have enough second basemen on this team, and Peraza and Freddie Galvis and Dietrich, that there shouldn't be guys playing second base when they don't need to. And then the Brewers, I don't understand the idea of adding Yasmani Grandal second. That's just me. And also the other thing is, when you have Eric Thames and you have Travis Shaw and you have Mike Moustakas and you had Aguilar and you now have Tyler White on your active roster because of the way they expanded, you're like, that's a plenty of first basemen on your roster and you don't have a DH spot. Why is Yasmani Grandal playing first base when it's Pena? Manny Pena is your catcher. It's one thing if your catcher in the National League is like when a Chris Herman or Blake Swirett's on your bench and they're known more for their offense and their defense, and you want to give them a couple of chances to play a week, and you play your catcher at first base. But that's the thing. Manny Piña's not going to scare me offensively when I'm trying to win a pennant. I want Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, and I want one of the 4 or 5 first basemen I have to play first base. And then the Rockies, they love throwing their infielders in the outfield as well. When they have Tapia who can play center field, and they have Daza, they have enough outfielders they can play. They don't have to do it. Trevor Story leading off and bumping Blackman to the second spot. I don't understand that. Story's not a leadoff hitter, nor is he a number 2 hitter. And then why is Tony Walters playing second base? They have Ryan McMahon. They have Hampson. They got all these guys that have called up on this with the 4-man roster in September. They don't need to put your starting catcher second base. And the Red Sox, a lot of Christian Vasquez at first base plays Stanley Leone. This doesn't make any sense. They have Mitch Moreland, and they have Sam Travis. They have enough first basemen. Padres. Stop playing Will Myers in center field or third base, or even Halls and Hedges at third base. You have plenty of outfielders. Will Myers should be able to play the outfield in the corner spots because they got rid of Frambo Reyes. You have enough infielders that you could play at third base. You could technically just move Manny Machado to shortstop, so you don't have to have a revolving door shortstop either. But Hedges is a good defensive catcher. No need to play him at third base. When Adam Eden's been playing the last couple of weeks batting second, when he's best suited to lead off, and the Giants, they got this Corbin Joseph guy who used to be on Baltimore and was Caleb Joseph's brother. Oakland used him this year. Then he went across the bay to San Francisco to play second base because they released Goodrich after getting him, and you're like, okay, that's cool. They're trying somebody else second base because that's a good thing to do. But then they're playing him at third base when they have enough third basemen. They're just playing guys out of position. So that was another weekly base observations for On the Radar Entertainment Blog. I'm Radar. Tune in next week.